or the Saturday before, sorry, I was driving my family to go bowling, and on Route 45 on Chestnut Ridge Road, and services were being let out. And as I was approaching the temple, I had to come to an immediate stop because there was a little girl by herself. She must have been no more than 2 or 3 years old, standing on the corner, and there were 3 or 4 young boys around 3 or 4 years old playing on the street between the curb and the white line on Route 45, and what I believe were 2 adult males standing on top on the grass. They would never be able to get to those children fast enough to get them to not get hit by a car. I'm coming southbound, and I was going northbound, and I came to a dead stop because I was afraid for those children. When I rolled down my window and I said, "Is anybody watching that little girl? She's there by herself," I was yelled at, and then thanked after I was chastised. Okay? So is there, and then I see a mother running down. I was told that the mother was on her way, so the little girl must have gotten out of her house. I have a 5-year-old. I know how quickly they can move and how quickly, I don't want my life ruined or anybody else's life ruined. If God forbid we hit a child and we actually kill a child, it ruins many families, not just the one whose child is no longer living. Is there anything that we can do when we know services are being let out to assist the congregation in slowing down traffic, helping escort people across the street, watching a little bit of traffic, anything to avoid a catastrophe? Because something will eventually happen, unfortunately, because to have seen these little boys playing on the road, I was almost crying because I was really upset. It really upset me.
Well, there's always,
Thank you.
oh, thank you. Anyone else?
There's always what?
I'm sorry, you didn't finish. There's always one.
No, there's always an option that the house of worship that's holding services request from them that they have some type of traffic control or security.
That would be great.
The problem that you run into then is, then we're going to get people, we're going to get folks who look at it the other way. These are not police officers. These are guys, people in vests or whatever in the middle of the street directing traffic. They don't know what they're doing.
Right.
However, what we will have to try to figure out is if there's some in between that, as maybe on the busier days where there's services or something like that, that if they could have some type of traffic control. Technically, they're not supposed to be on the road, because that could be a problem. You have to be a police officer technically to be out on that roadway. Ramapo police they do not have the person power to send traffic control at these places. But if we know that perhaps something is going on that's exceptional, or whatever the case may be, it would behoove not only the host, but perhaps the village. We can try to get something.
Right.
Something together to get them on the right page to have something going on.
Right, I appreciate that. And it's almost sort of like a school crossing guard who is trained to do this and is not a part of the congregation and is somebody that is independent, and even if the congregation has to pay for it, I know that my congregation on Sundays during certain mass times has a police officer there helping direct traffic because it's very busy. So I would encourage the village to, if you can, speak to that congregation, because again, it would be very devastating to many if something happened.
Those are sworn officers, even though you're crossing guards. Technically,
right.
they're auxiliary police.
That's what I would
but
love to
follow
see.
your point.
Thank you.
Mayor Presti, certainly the high holidays are coming up, and it would be very important to have that in the back.
Again, it's something for us.
My synagogue, I know, always has a traffic.
And it makes sense. My church does the same thing. Anyone else? Motion to go into front. Okay, name and address for the record, please.
Just have 2 things. Dave Halperin, 20 Midway.
Good evening, Mr. Halpern.
Good evening. First, just a clarification. In terms of a code enforcement officer coming on a regular basis, they do that. They follow state law. more so than anything else, that they can come, if they have a problem, they can come on a regular basis. And that has nothing to do with this board or anybody else. They are allowed to do it. They can come in and fine on a daily basis if they find a code error, actually. They can take down something that's business.
Actually, the comments to me, I
Yes.
wouldn't.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
I
I just wanted to
Thank
clarify
you,
that.
I
The
appreciate
other question I had is this. Prime example is on Spring Hill Terrace. If a house, a private residence, sets up a shul on the side that is used on a regular basis as a shul, does that then, part of the property then come under a commercial code rather than residential code? And I'm concerned more from the standpoint of ingress and egress, smoke and fire detection, number of people in the facility, et cetera. And I don't know, I'm just asking if you can clarify that for me.
Well, normally, again, if a house is a house, and a part of it is being used as worship space, you're entitled to do that. Okay, you're entitled to do that. Now, where I don't have the village regulation at my hand, at my fingertips, but I believe that there's a 50%, it becomes a 50% line of demarcation. Once more than half of your house if more than half of your house is being used as a house of worship, it is a possibility. And I don't, without the regulation in front of me, so please don't quote me, that there may be additional requirements that you have to have as far as hosting that type of service. But again, without the village attorney here, I don't want to mislead you. That's something that we can follow up on. But you, as an owner of the home, you could have a portion of the home for your house, and you could have a portion of your home for worship service. Whether Jewish, Protestant.
My concern is as much for the safety of the people if there's an accident, as also from a liability standpoint. Is a homeowner liable if something happens? Suppose that shul catches fire and he's got 50 people in there, and there's no means of egress to get them all safely out. Is the town, is your liability involved?
The village is not liable for what goes on in your home. If you're utilizing your home illegally, and if for some reason the village didn't pick up on it, there is no liability of the village because you're using your home illegally, and God forbid there was an accident, that there was injury, things of that nature. You as a homeowner are on the hook. So if you're using your home for whatever purposes, and God forbid there's an accident, you're on the hook, not the village.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halpern. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to... I'm sorry. Name and address for the record, please. I'm sorry?
What's your name again? Carol Jacobs, 55 Springfield Terrace. Oh, sorry. I just want to let you know that October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th will be Rosh Hashanah. The difference between that holiday and the one that just passed is the Tish B'Av holiday, you are allowed to drive. Rosh Hashanah, you are not. I do not know what the practice is of the shuls on 45 and Spring Hill Terrace, but in my synagogue, people will drive like Sunday night, leave their car, and then they will take their car Tuesday at the end of services, and the cars will be there for those few days. I don't know what the practice will be at the two synagogues in our area, but I think we should make note of the dates, see what happens, and then we will know how to prepare for the following Yom Kippur holiday, the following Sukkot holiday, and the following Simchas Torah holiday.
Actually, as you're speaking and you're making some clarifications, and based upon what we discussed earlier, we have I believe we have a pretty good, we have a database as to the houses of worship that live in the village, and in particular with the large or small. What I think we can do, I can send out a letter under my signature, and it's something that we could have with the village clerk, with the deputy village clerk can put together. We'll send a letter out within the next week or two, to the various houses of worship to say, look, we just want to make sure that everyone is safe and things of that nature with the holidays that are coming up. And we would strongly suggest that they look into formal traffic control with possibly coordinating something with the Ramapo Police Department. And we'll see how that first run up the flagpole goes, and then we'll take it from there.
That sounds like
That's
a very
something that
good,
we could work
that sounds like a very good plan. I think what I'm trying to also say, and I think what a lot of people here are also trying to say, is that we're concerned about safety. Their safety with the children and the adults running between cars, and our safety and our security.
That is apparent, and there is no sub-agenda to that. That goes without saying, and we're all on the same
I
page.
just wanted to clarify that, maybe.
Mr. Cunningham, I figured you were going to say.
I've been waiting to see just Richard Cunningham, Ben Appledale Lane. Clarification on something. Gentleman talked about they're building a house with supposedly 7 bathrooms. 9. Okay, and then we had a house with, all right, whatever. Oh, again?
We have to change the tape.
Again, always with me, you change the
Yeah,
tape.
that's what they were waiting for. I know
Picking on me.
Maybe you can donate some money to the new system.
I offered to look for a digital recorder, but
Ahavis Yisrael has their own parking lot, though. They have a large parking
Oh,
lot.
yeah, well, again, we're off the record. We have to wait for the tape. Well, there's no harm in sending
They
a letter
shouldn't
out.
have a problem with that.
What's that?
It's not their letter.
When they're walking, not parking. Now you know why we need a modern system.
yes,
21st century.
$5,000.
Kicking and screaming, but they're joining.
Yeah, I can afford one.
One in a couple days. This system has been all reliable.
26 years is working.
Yeah, that other system is technical systems that haven't worked.
My new system doesn't work, I'll leave in trouble.
You're in trouble, yes. Yeah, probably.
Well, that's what actually Florida does. That's what she does.
Oh, my gosh. The CIA was doing it.
John,
I just wanted, I don't know, I listened to these people
Well,
who say,
please, one conversation, please.
you know, they're gonna build a house, you say, well, they're building it as per their plan. Okay, so now we get this house built with 9 bathrooms or whatever, this doesn't meet the code. So now we got, I want forgiveness, and the house stays there, and down the road, they will get it.
not necessarily. but
Well, I
follow where
haven't
you're
seen
going.
one torn down yet.
Well, Mr. Cunningham, we haven't had a situation where that would be the remedy.
Okay.
That remedy is available.
Okay,
And
all right, I just,
this carrot and stick that we have is that we do have ongoing inspections,
Okay.
and we have, by virtue of the issuance of a C of O. If you're in a structure that does not have a C of O, you have a multitude of problems.
Yeah.
Forget about not following a plan.
of
So,
course, no, I understand.
but you're absolutely right. We haven't had, but I think I say that in a good way. We haven't had to have somebody go and knock down a building.
Yep.
We've been able to get them to comply so that they didn't have to do that.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right. That's the ultimate remedy.
All right, as a follow-up to that, I had some talks with the village and asking about different problems, and your village code enforcement officer, I think you need more. The poor guy has worked out pretty hard. He's always running around, and I think you ought to really look to see, for a few bucks more on our taxes, spread out the whole village for somebody full-time, because he does work and he does earn his money.
He stays in my house, you're right.
Well,
Well, I don't know about your house, but I'm talking about problems that I've reported.
for instance, with the addition of the fire inspector,
Yeah,
we hope to utilize him also for code enforcement.
okay, good.
And also the building inspector, we have the building inspector, we have the code enforcement official, now we have the fire inspector.
All right.
So theoretically, we're now at full complement.
Okay.
And if we feel as though we need to augment that, we will do what we can fiscally prudently.
Because I know he works hard.
And
They
I
all do.
appreciate your kind words and telling me. Anyone else? No, Mr. Peña? Name and address for the record.
Jose Pena, 7 Appledale Lane. Judge, the only thing that's bothering me is the house on Rocky and Appledale. What are we doing with it? That's the only thing that really bothers me. I love my village, I want to stay here. But that thing's been there for a long time, and we ask questions every meeting, and we're not getting answers. I'm not getting answers.
Rocky and Appleton.
We've heard that.
That was the fire, right? That's the
Fire,
fire.
yeah, it's been sitting there.
Right, and again, I don't want to make excuses for the insurance industry, but unless and until the owner makes amends with whatever this.
Mr. Mayor, the home has been sold for many months now. For an LLC, and no answers.
All we can do is we continue to go there to make sure that there is no threat to health and things of that nature, and the process can only take us so far. We're on it, we visit them as much as we can, and we will continue to stay on it, but I can't sit here and guarantee you how it's gonna be all fixed up in 2 months. I wish I could tell you that. All I can tell you is that we stay on top of them. We do visit them, and we try to make sure that they know that they're on our radar. That's the best I can do for you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Make a motion that the public portion of the meeting be closed.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye, opposed, there being none, thank you very much. All right, thank you folks for coming out.
I waited to the end.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed, there being none, thank you. All right, folks, thanks for coming out. We're gonna have a brief executive session, and then we'll be out.